All right, so now we're going to talk about the container class as well as some spacing classes such as margin and padding. And this is stuff you're going to be using all the time. So if we click on container and spacing, you will see some text here. And if we go over to 03 container spacing and then our index HTML, we have a div here that's surrounding an article, that's surrounding an H3 and a paragraph. All right, so we'll be working with that. And then down here, I have a bunch of comments. These are going to be the breakpoints that or I should say the media query sizes that Tailwind uses. So 100% at its smallest, 640, 768, 1024, 1280, and 1536. When we add a container class, these will be the max widths. All right, and you can change these values too. You can customize it, and I'll show you how to do that later. And then we also have a ton of margin classes we can use for different sizes of margin on all different sides. Same thing with padding. If we go down here, we have a bunch of padding classes. So we'll get into that, but first thing I want to do is on this div, let's add a class of container and let's see what that gives us. Now, we're not going to see any change visually with my browser at this size. If we stretch it out, you can see that at this point, there is some spacing on the side here, but then we hit a breakpoint, then we hit another, and when we get to the largest one, you'll see that it stays at a certain point. Now, if we open up the dev tools and we look at the container class, you'll see right now it has a max width of 1536. Okay, so that's the highest breakpoint. Now, if I make it a little smaller, now it's at 1280. Okay, if I make it a little smaller, 1024, make it a little smaller. Now, yeah, it's still at 1024 down here, but let's keep moving it in. And then 768, then we should have 640, and then we should have 100%. Okay, because usually when it's on a really small screen, you're going to want it to stack and be 100%. Let me just make this a little bigger. All right. So yeah, that's the container. Now it's not automatically put in the middle like you see in some frameworks. So let me just make it so there's some spacing on the edge here. And when you use like a Bootstrap container, it'll put it in the middle. But again, Tailwind is so low level that we have to add a class for that. So let's say mx-auto. Save that, and now you can see it's pushed to the middle. Now what MX means is margin on the x-axis, and you can see right down here, margin left and margin right both now have auto. All right, now if I do MY, so that's margin on the y-axis, now margin top and margin bottom are auto. All right, so let's put that back to MX. And then to look more at margin classes, we're going to come down here, and let's create a div here. We'll do a background slate. Let's do, say, background slate 100. And let's add just an M. We'll do M dash, let's say M-2 for now. And in here, we'll just say, I don't know, we'll just say hello world. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Now remember, margin is the outside width, padding is the inside. So outside of this this text and background, we have some space right here, some space here, and you can't really tell, but we also have it on the bottom and the right, because when I do M, it just means margin all around. Okay, MX is left and right, MY is top and bottom, M is all around. Now if I want margin just on, let's see, let's copy this down. If I want margin, let's say just on the left, actually, yeah, let's do ML. We'll make this a little more. I'll do 4, and I'll explain these numbers in a second. But let's do that, and now you can see we only have margin on the left. Okay, so that's margin left. If we wanted on the right, we could do that. So now you can see that that is now pushed in here on the right. If we want to do the top and bottom, we could do MT for the top, MB for the bottom. All right. Now, as far as the numbers, let's see, if we click on this first one, which is what, M2, the margin for that is going to be 0.5 rem units. All right, so M2 by default. And I have all those sizes down here. So let's see. Yep, so M2 is 0.5 rem by default, and that's going to be 8 pixels by default. That can change if you change the root HTML font size, but it's going to be 8 pixels by default. Now M1 or MX1 or ML1, anything 1, is going to be 2.25 rem or 4 pixels. Okay, you also have 0.5, which is 0.125 rem or 2 pixels. And again, you can change these values. You can add a config file where you can specify what you want 0.5 to be. Maybe you want 1 to be 1 rem. You could do that. But these are the defaults. So 2, and then we have 3, which is 0.75 rem, 12 pixels. 4 is going to be 1 rem. So if you want 1 rem, that's going to be 4. That's 16 pixels. You have 6, 7, 8. So it goes all the way up. It goes pretty high. It goes all the way up to 96, which is going to be 24 rem units, 384 pixels. Then you also have auto, which I showed you. Yeah, so the same goes for the padding. All right, so if you do, for instance, P1, that's going to be same thing, 0.25. All right, so let's just do, and you can also do arbitrary values, actually. So I just want to show you if I bring this down and I say margin top, so yeah, we'll do MT, and then in brackets, I'll say 20 pixels. Save that, and you can see that now this, if we check this out, has a margin top of 20 pixels. Now, I wouldn't advise doing this all the time. The arbitrary values, I would advise that you, if you don't want the values that are there, then just change them in your config. But I mean, this can be used as a last resort. But that's just my opinion. All right, so padding is basically going to be the same thing. So what we'll do is copy this, and we'll just change all of the M. So we'll grab, yeah, all these M's and just change it to P. So this is going to be padding all the way around, padding left, padding right. So now if we look here, it's going to be all within the background. Okay, so yeah, same thing. Now we also have space between, yeah, let's come down here. So space between X. So I'll have a div here. I'm going to use Flexbox. I know we haven't gone over it yet, but if I do flex and then I have, let's say, we'll just do div, and I'll say item space, and we'll say times, I don't know, 7. Okay, so I have 7 items here. And when I put a class of flex, it automatically puts them into a row, right? So it automatically makes them go horizontal. Actually, let's do a MT here just to move it down a bit. So we'll do MT, let's say 24. All right, so we're looking at this right here. Now, if I want space in between all of these, I can take the class that wraps them, which is this one, and we're on the x-axis that we want to do this, so we can say space dash x dash and then one of those numbers, let's say 4. And if I save that, now we have 4 is going to be 1 rem we have in between each one. All right, and if I want to make that more, I could do like 24. Now we have more space in between, but we'll put that back to 4. And then for the Y spacing, that's going to be vertical. So we can just grab this, paste that in, and I'm just going to add on to this flex call. And again, I'll get into Flexbox later, but this just makes it into a column going vertically. And let's do space Y now, space Y4, and now you'll see in between there, we have 1 rem. And we can check that out if we go ahead and look at this. And it's actually going to use the calculation here. But we have 1 rem in between. We can make that bigger. If we do like 8, now we have more space. So it's pretty cool. We don't have to add margin onto each one of these or all of these. We can use the space classes. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and look at typography. We're going to look at font sizes and so on.